Twitter to do that. It's at NC, no, that's my day job. That comes out too quick. At NC Tech for Good with the number 4 instead of FOR, okay? So we'll get started, I think. What we're going to do is talk a little bit. Let me change gears here. So as I'm doing this, how many of you are new-ish to Google Analytics? Okay. And how many of you are like experts you could teach the session? Oh, good. I'm not nervous anymore. So I use Google Analytics in my day job. Obviously, I work for a nonprofit organization, and I'm the technology director there, but I manage many hats like most nonprofit employees do. But I work on our website, so I'm constantly trying to figure out what people are looking at, what's important to them, what's drawing them back, what's keeping their interest. Also looking at, are they going to completion to a thank you page, all those kinds of things that as nonprofits we're obviously interested in. So I want to start with some, for the newbies, maybe some basic stuff. If I can get down here. Where's my mouse? It's on high wire here. We'll start at the top. I don't have a lot of slides because I do plan to mostly demonstrate analytics, but we will go through this nonetheless, just to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page. And I don't like it when I'm in a session where I don't really understand something and they skim over it, but in some cases I'm going to do a little bit of that tonight so we can really get to the guts of what we want to talk about. And so I will happily post these slides after tonight so you don't feel like you have to furiously write everything word for word. But do keep up with kind of the key concepts because I'm not one of those types of people that read from the screen, and I hope you're okay with that. So tonight I want to make sure that there are 6 key metrics that you want to look at on your site. And I've put them kind of in this nice little graphic. A friend of mine, Yasena from N10, which is one of our partners, she has her own consultant company and she really loves Google Analytics. And she is at Silverbell on Twitter if you want to follow her. She's got great resources. She's a perfect person to kind of get to know, and she's happy to share stuff with you too. So if you're looking for a good contact, that's one. But this comes from her actually. And so 6 key website metrics. Visits, kind of broken into 3 parts. So whether you're looking for effective outreach, effective content, or audience changes. So these types of things, you've probably heard of visits, page views, bounce rates, all of those things before. Anything ringing a bell to you guys? You heard of them? Okay. So if you're looking at each of these things, then kind of group together. The visits and the page views are where you're going to get kind of your outreach. Your bounce rate and your average time on site is whether or not your content is effective. So if you have quality content that's keeping them on the site, or are they bouncing somewhere else? And then your top landing pages and your top exit pages, that's telling you you've got some turnover in the site and what you need to do with those things. So don't get overwhelmed. We're going to look at them. But wanted you to kind of see it in that light because as organizations, we're usually trying to do one of these 3 things. We're either trying to reach out to someone, we're trying to make sure we're keeping our content current and up to date, and then we're also looking to introduce new people in and out. So I did, in my slides, put these terminologies. I did do kind of a definition for you, for those of you that need that. A visit is basically a representation of a person that's on the site, okay? So it's that person coming to the site. Your page view is usually your highest metric because that is counted every time that there is a refresh on the page or they move from one thing to the next. So that is your page views. Anybody have questions of either of those 2 things? Okay, I don't want to move too fast. I'm also the type of person that doesn't mind if you stop me. I'm totally okay with that. So for effective content, you can look at bounce rate and also the average time on the site. So bounce rate means somebody comes to the page, they found what they looked for and they might leave. Or they come to the page, didn't find what they looked for and they left anyways. So you kind of have to look at that. The average time on the site is basically how long were they there. So I also have stats later in this presentation that will show you some of the things that kind of average things to look for. So how long should someone be on your site? Are you thinking 30 seconds or are you thinking 5 minutes? You know, depending on the type of site that you have, if you're a research organization, then you might expect for people to be on your site shorter or longer. What do you think? Longer. Why? Right, they're going to read it, right? You're hoping that they're actually reading the material that you've put out there versus getting there and going, ooh, this is over my head and I'm hopping out, right? So your metrics may be different than the person that's sitting right beside you. And that's totally fine, but you have to look at it through the lens of what are our goals and what does our organization expect.
Yeah. A question?
Yeah.
So I open up a site, it's my news site. We probably all have one as whatever, my homepage is a news site, so I, look at some headlines, read some things. Then I go and look at my mail and do other things and then come back. So how is my average time computed if I open it first thing in the morning and don't leave until I shut down my PC for the day, if I ever even do that?
So it depends on, Google has their own algorithms for how they track certain things. It depends on if you left that page open versus if you went to off task to somewhere else and you were spending time there and then came back to that same page loaded or not. But generally it times out, and so it doesn't continue to count your time on that site. And their algorithm kind of moves from each time they issue something. Does anybody else have an exact answer for her? Okay. Yeah.
According to new designs, everything is one page now, some of the web page. So
yes.
How long the Google Analytics will, approach to whether you will be in the first page or last because it's on one page. So.
Right. So you're right. The design for websites has changed in that they now, you're kind of scrolling forever, whereas before that wasn't necessarily the design. You might click and go to the next page. But for readability, people are just using their scroll on their wheel, right? So that counts as one page. It's not a new page. It's when the page changes that it starts to trigger another response. Okay? All right, so then your audience changes. This is kind of important too because you think about the things that you want them to, where you want them to land. So we talk about landing pages. So it might be that in an email communication, you want them to go to your conference site to register, right? And you want that to be their landing page. But it's whatever page they first visit on the site. So whatever, if that's your home page, if that's, targeted direct link from an email communication or a Facebook post or a Twitter post, was whatever that first page that they visit on your site. Which kind of gives you a clue as to what content is kind of driving their decision. So that can change drastically depending on your season and your organization and what's going on. Because it might be your conference time, that conference page is their #1 landing page. It could be that at another point in time, it could be a research article that you posted. And that be the top landing page. So that's really going to give you the kind of a pulse on what's important to your audience at the time that it's happening. And then your top exit pages, that's going to be the last page that they looked at. So it's going to be, there's good exit pages and there are bad exit pages. What might be an example of a good exit page on your site?
Your donation form.
The donation The donation page?
No, the thank you. The thank you page.
The thank you page is going to be a good exit page, right? We all want the thank you page to be a high exit page because it means that they went from donation form to review to completion, right? Versus the donation form page being your exit page. That could be, whoa, you're asking me too much.